Chapter 33 Kill the Giant Centipede. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Jia Yan felt like he could hear the roaring voice in his heart. It's really hard now. The huge fiery red centipede's body trembled slightly. It was indeed not dead yet. Jia Yan squeezed his whole body into the centipede's mouth like crazy. He found that he had misjudged the size of the centipede's body. The fiery red centipede has a total body of 2.5 meters, and the diameter of its head is nearly 20 centimeters. Jia Yan penetrated the whole body, and considering the length of the mouthpart and mouthpiece, it was estimated that it would only reach the opponent's brain. This also depends on luck, whether it wakes up quickly or the needle inserts itself faster. A mouth needle. Didn't you mutate 3 times? Aren't you comparable to a steel needle? How come you can't penetrate an animal's muscle? Prick me. Jia Yan stabbed crazily and couldn't figure out where he had reached. He only knew that the needle was wherever it could reach and was just messing around. Crazy destruction. The fiery red giant centipede's whole body was moving slightly. Its mouthparts trembled slightly, almost clamping Jia Yan's body. Jia Yan can be bitten to death with just one force. Asshole. I won't lose, Jia Yan screamed in his heart, and then felt his own needle, and suddenly, come to a place where there are no obstacles. Water. Sure enough, there was that mysterious juice in Opinion's head. But now is not the time to be happy. If the brain is not destroyed, it will wake up. Now that we've reached the juice, it's only right that the brain is nearby. Jia Yan's needle had only the last bit of length left. At this moment, he suddenly thrust the last part of the needle upward. Oh! The huge fiery red centipede's body by the stream suddenly trembled violently. The next moment, its 21 legs began to struggle. The mouthparts also suddenly moved. Click! Jia Yan felt his exoskeleton make a crisp cracking sound. Got bitten. However, the clot and exoskeleton completely prevented this bite. I don't know if this is because the opponent has just woken up and the power of his mouthparts is still insufficient, or because his own defense has reached the point where he can block the power of the opponent's mouthparts. Or maybe it's both. Jia Yan's hard clot armor and mutated exoskeleton's dual defenses actually blocked the bite of the fiery red centipede's mouthparts. Not even a big chip. If I can block it, then I will continue to fight. If the armor cannot support it, quit immediately. Jia Yan is furious. Spell. On the way forward, he fought hard again and again, and only then did he gain his current strong body. If you don't work hard, where will the opportunity come from? So this time, he still has to fight. If you don't fight, there will be no future. The current Jia Yan is no longer the timid Jia Yan. As long as there is a glimmer of hope, as long as the situation is not too life-threatening, nothing can stop him from fighting. Click. The power of biting comes out again. This time it is obviously more intense. Jia Yan could feel that subtle cracks had appeared in the clot on his body. This was the compression damage caused by the huge force of oppression. The fiery red centipede is waking up quickly. But Jia Yan won't let him really wake up. Because after finding the mysterious juice, his mouth needle had already penetrated into the tissue structure of the opponent's brain. The reason why the fiery red centipede can wake up so quickly is probably because the mouth needle penetrated into the brain and caused strong stimulation to it, so it woke up quickly. If you want to bite me to death, you're already too late. Jia Yan controlled the needle that he had penetrated into the opponent's brain cells and stirred it wildly. The soft and greasy brain cell structure, when felt by the needle, feels like tofu curd and can be destroyed very easily. Boom boom boom. The huge body of the fiery red centipede suddenly started rolling by the stream. The scene was no less impressive than the previous battle between the centipede army and the fiery red centipede. The smoke and dust are scattered everywhere, and there are traces of its struggle everywhere. Jia Yan felt that his clot armor and exoskeleton were screaming. There is a continuous cracking sound. But, it just won't break. There are no major cracks. Jia Yen found that he had underestimated the clot and exoskeleton of his body. The black liquid swallowed by the third mutation was something that the Siberian wild tigers had to extract from the boiler through many means with great difficulty. They were even the most important objects for preparing the purple-red medicinal liquid. Could the third mutation caused by this liquid be simple? During the process of solidification, these clots withstood the shock wave of the boiler explosion. After falling down this passage, he endured at least dozens of violent collisions. Is it possible that the clot armor formed by repeated impact and beating, as well as the stronger exoskeleton inside the armor, are weak? After the centipede bit him again and again, the answer appeared. Of course, this is not absolute. If wounds appear repeatedly in the same place, the possibility of the strong two-layer defense being bitten into pieces and then injuring the main body is still very high. What's more, because Jia Yen penetrated the opponent's brain, the bite force of the fiery red centipede could not be compared with the force of the first bite. Jia Yen made the needle stir even more crazily. Once the brain is destroyed, no matter how powerful the animal is, it will no longer be able to survive. This is a battle destined to be won or lost. As expected, not much time had passed before Jia Yen felt the centipede bite his mouthparts and gradually lost strength. Its struggling slowly stopped. Dead. Such a terrifying giant monster died in my hands. Jia Yen couldn't believe it, even if the main contributor to accomplishing this feat should be the army of cockroaches, but it was Jia Yen who really caused the death of the fiery red centipede. There is no doubt about this. In short, it's survival of the fittest. No matter how unjustly it dies, no matter how unwilling it dies. But in the end it's me who survives. It's it who dies. This is the final result. This is the law of elimination. I will become stronger and stronger in the future, so that no creature can eliminate me. After making sure that the fiery red centipede made no more noise, Jia Yen turned the needle. Turn to the area near the brain, where those mysterious juices are. Sure enough, the fiery red centipede also contains mysterious juice, which cheers up Jia Yen. This shows that maybe all the creatures in this underground world have this kind of juice in their brains. Then his chances will be even greater. Looking around, are they all life forms that can help themselves evolve? This 5-kilometer radius of the world, coupled with the huge number of caves, may even be connected to another underground world. If you calculate it like this, Jia Yan's opportunities can be said to be unlimited. If you really continue to be so strong, where will you get? It's unimaginable. His heartbeat was a little fast. Don't be anxious. The road must be walked step by step. You can't eat hot tofu in a hurry. Jia Yen forced himself to calm down, not to mention that this kind of infinite growth is impossible. There is always a limit to the mutation effect that the same thing can provide. Jia Yen would not be ignorant of such a simple truth. Besides, there are so many terrifying creatures in this world, and there are even many more terrifying creatures that he has not seen yet. If Jia Yen wants to defeat them, it is not something he can just say, first, let's suck the mysterious juice from the fiery red centipede's brain. See if your body will change after taking in so much mysterious juice in one breath. Jia Yan's needle has found the center of the mysterious juice near the centipede's brain. Then, he let go of his desire to suck and directly sucked the juice vigorously. Ziz. The vigorous slurping is like a human drinking through a straw, and occasionally there are some subtle sounds. It only took less than 30 seconds, Jia Yan's stomach became so round. But he is still absorbing it. Although the effect of this mysterious juice is not comparable to the black liquid in the factory, it is definitely not worse than the purple-red liquid. And its medicinal effect is long-lasting and long-lasting. Jia Yen had a vague feeling that compared to the previous times, it seemed like a violent change. This milder juice works better for him. About there. Finally, when Jia Yen felt that his stomach could no longer absorb it, the mysterious juice in the centipede brain was almost gone. The sound of sucking air came out. Jia Yen finally absorbed the last drop of juice. The fat abdomen has long since become inflated. The exoskeleton and outer clots only serve to defend against external attacks, while the abdomen expands from the inside. Miraculously, they do not squeeze, but expand along with the expansion. Although if some gaps are exposed, the body in the gaps will be easily attacked. But this is already a very convenient change. All of this is just a change that the body chooses independently during the mutation process, and it can be so thoughtful, Jia Yan desperately drilled out from the centipede's mouthparts. It's not easy to get in. Now most of the torso is in the mouthparts, and it has even become more bloated after sucking the mysterious juice. If the centipede hadn't been really dead, it wouldn't have been easy for Jia Yan to come out. Fortunately, after 2 or 3 minutes of hard work, he crawled out of the fiery red centipede's mouthparts. Go back to the cave and wait for the changes to begin. Her compound eyes flashed, and Jia Yanqin's long and majestic body gently touched the jaws of the giant centipede. Flying up, glancing back down, on the ground was the huge corpse of the fiery red centipede. Perhaps before it died, it would never have thought that the inconspicuous stone it pulled in the cave was actually the murderer who killed it next. Things are unpredictable. Fighting in nature is always cruel, but compared to the intrigues of human society, this rough and crazy way of survival and fighting may be more suitable for me. Jia Yan flapped his wings and flew towards the cave. The next step is to digest the juice from the centipede first, and then the 36 corpses of the centipede. How much can these trophies be enough to strengthen me? This makes me very looking forward to it. To be continued. I laughed and cried and forgot. Brother's ban has been lifted. I'll open a bottle of beer later and have fun, haha. Thanks to book friend, show you, for the 588 reward. Thank you to book friends such as Hope by the River. Have you registered? The Demon King Has No Way, 1 season / Another Silence and other books. In addition, I would like to thank the book friends who collected and voted for recommendation. Thank you very much. Chapter 34 Super Mutants. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Reluctantly, I searched on the website, and sure enough, there was no recommendation for this book. Buyue was unwilling to give in. The results of this book are not bad. Why was it abandoned? So continue to ask for collection. Everyone logs in to the account. Help me collect it. Let Buyue continue to update the millions of words with peace of mind. Thank you. This time flying over the stream, I still didn't encounter the attack of the huge grass carp. Thinking of this grass carp, Jia Yan discovered something, although that grass carp is also a large grass carp. However, the appearance is obviously not the product of mutation. It is just because the environment here is better and it grows to such a large size naturally. At least in appearance, it is no different from the same type of grass carp in the outside world. The other fish in the stream are just a little bigger, and none of them have a strange appearance due to mutation. Think back, he discovered that all mutant creatures he had ever seen, including himself, were all insects. Then he can draw a conclusion that biological species can mutate through factory drugs and the air of this underground world. Only the insecta class. Even the huge monster in the stream, judging from its appearance, can definitely be a type of insect. Although Jia Yan really couldn't tell what kind of creature that insect was, insects become gigantic. This discovery is quite useful for Jia Yan. He can know that it is impossible for humans and other mammals to mutate through black liquid and other things, otherwise the Siberian wild tigers would have tried it long ago. Jia Yan flew into the cave and landed in the rubble. The feeling is coming. Jia Yan felt a restless energy appearing in his body. After sucking the mysterious juice from the fiery red centipede's brain, Jia Yan's body finally had a major reaction. He looked around and found himself hiding in a gap created by several larger pieces of gravel falling together. Jia Yan kept an eye on it. The width of this gap was still a little wide. If he continued to grow bigger, it wouldn't be unable to accommodate it. He lay down and quietly experienced the changes the juice brought to him. It doesn't hurt very much. This is really good. The color of the mysterious juice should be a rich milky white. Just like its color, this milky white gives people a warm feeling. It's not as sexy and weird as the purple-red liquid. It's not the terrifying blackness of black liquid. Compared with the above two liquids, the effect of the mysterious juice is longer and will not make people worse than death. Under the effect of the juice dissipating, the internal organs slowly undergo some kind of peristalsis and changes. Jia Yan can feel that this mysterious juice mainly changes his internal organs. Although it can also cause him to mutate in appearance, it can even make him enlarge, but it does not change his overall appearance like the previous mutations. There are also changes, especially the black liquid added thick armor clots to the surface of his exoskeleton. Now that Jia Yan is so stout and flies out, not many people may recognize him as Anopheles sinensis. The mild juice effect penetrates into the body and moisturizes the body. The exoskeleton and clot armor that was bitten by the centipede were slowly healing again at this time, and because the body remembered the gravity that it was pressed by before, this time while allowing the body to continue to expand, the defensive clots for armor, I once again chose to increase strength. On the surface of the strange clot, liquid overflowed again, and then the liquid solidified and turned into new armor. Jia Yan felt a not-so-severe pain. This kind of pain was not comparable to the previous 3 mutations, and he could completely bear it. He felt that the organs in his body were slowly increasing in size. Are you going to get bigger again? He sighed in his heart. If it gets bigger again, how big will it be? Now he is no longer an ordinary creature. If this continues, Jia Yan doesn't know what he will become, but this feeling is good, getting stronger, and it's so addictive. Jia Yan's previous mutation enhancement was a product of violence, leaving countless hidden dangers and scars on his body, but now this mysterious juice is very miraculous, seeming to repair many minor injuries. Of course, this kind of thing cannot be accomplished overnight, because Jia Yan's body itself is actually the product of violent mutation. If Jia Yan wants to completely repair his body, he can only rebuild the entire body, which is almost impossible to achieve. The mysterious juice has at least helped repair some major hidden diseases, which is very good news. Changes are still going on, and at this moment when Jia Yan continues to change, on the ground 1 kilometer away from the underground cave, in the northeast wild tigers factory, a reassuring figure finally returned. You kid, you just know how to throw the mess to me. In the Siberian wild tiger's office, a thin middle-aged man who didn't look very special was sitting at the table. The Siberian wild tiger in front of him didn't dare to sit down at all, but just stood aside with a smile. The man with glasses and some Siberian wild tiger subordinates were also there, but at this time these people were not even qualified to speak. The middle-aged man sitting at the table shook his head. But yes, if your situation here wasn't so difficult, I believe you wouldn't have thought of asking me to help you. Okay, just tell me, this time there will be some kind of team. Senior Junkie. The Siberian wild tiger said respectfully. Senior, I actually didn't expect that things would become so difficult. Not only did the news about the factory leak out, but the few university teachers and students who escaped also reported the matter to relevant agencies. You also know that once the matter becomes public, there are some things you cannot do above. So this time, they can't take action against us head-on. Whether it's the big shot who protects me or the guy who covets the factory, if they want to take action, they can only do it secretly. After my investigation, I came here this time among the teams. There are the well-known domestic Li Pei and the Long Wangshan duo. In addition to these domestic teams, there are even several foreign teams that have accepted the task, but I am not familiar with the foreign teams. So we don't know their personnel and configuration. The only person in the office who can sit down is the powerful person who the Siberian wild tigers finally poached after using their brains, the drug addict. This leading killer in the country was assigned by the Siberian wild tiger to carry out certain tasks some time ago. Now in the middle of the mission, because the Siberian wild tiger's lair is in danger, he returned to help. The drug addict is naturally a man of his word. He promised to help the Siberian wild tigers for a few years and would never go back on his word. At this time, after listening to the introduction of the form of the northeast wild tiger, he couldn't help but frown slightly. And there are foreign teams? You boy, who else can take charge of your own business now besides me? The addict pointed to the gangster-like subordinate standing aside. Needless to say, this kind of trash, I mean people who can take action. This. The Siberian wild tiger scratched his head in embarrassment. I don't dare to hide this from you. The only strong person I can use now, is you. You want me to deal with so many teams at the same time? The addict glared at him angrily. You might as well just say it, it would be easier for me to die. Of course not. The Siberian wild tiger quickly explained, the news I got is that the big shots affiliated with these teams have an agreement. Each team has a maximum of 5 people, and they can only come one by one. If one family can't do it, they will no longer attack. This is also the tacit understanding formed by the big man behind me. Only one team will come to seize the factory at a time, and it all depends on us, whether we can resist them one by one. Come one by one, each family's team should not exceed 5 strong men at most. The addict lit the cigarette and took a slight breath. Then let them come. If among these people, there are not those super mutants who have appeared recently, I will help you carry it alone. Super mutant, that the Siberian wild tiger and the others all looked at the addict with some confusion. The addict slowly exhaled the smoke, and his thin face was somewhat blurred behind the smoke. Don't you know? About 3 years ago, the Star-Spangled Banner government used the world's top medical capabilities to transform certain humans with very strong physiques into so-called super mutants. These humans have combat capabilities that far exceed those of ordinary people. You all know that I fought against the 4 top killers in the United States a few years ago, but you all don't know that after I defeated the 4 top killers, I was hunted by these super mutants for a whole year. I told you in advance, if there are super mutants in those teams this time, I won't fight you even if I say hello, I will leave directly. Because I don't want to die like this after finally saving my life. What kind of super mutant is more powerful than you, the addict? The Siberian wild tiger couldn't believe it. As the leading killer in the country, the drug addict has been at home and abroad for more than 10 years. His record is brilliant, and his reputation is gained through actual combat. Although he has not been out in the past 2 years, everyone believes that the drug addict is the strongest killer in the country. But when he heard the drug addict himself say that there were so-called super mutants in the Star-Spangled Banner country who were even more powerful than him, the Siberian wild tiger was really confused. Maybe I can kill one by risking my life, but in a battle of this level, life and death are just a thin line. Although the number of these super mutants is not large, they are originally top military soldiers or top killers. After medical treatment, after becoming more powerful in terms of strength and physique, I actually have no advantage over them other than having more experience. That's why I said that if I meet them, I will leave directly, that the addict said so much and looked for Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com. Then he looked at the people who were looking at each other and couldn't help but smile. Don't worry, super mutants are the secret weapon of the Star-Spangled Banner. It is said that there are no more than 10 in number. Even if they are willing to come to China to perform tasks, the Chinese government will not allow them to enter. After all, this kind of murderous weapon may even be more destructive than me. It is said that their preparation method was inspired by some war materials captured from the Japanese country. I don't know what the secret is that actually allowed the Japanese country decades ago to study something that the current Star-Spangled Banner country needs to learn from. Information. The Siberian wild tigers looked at each other. The topics and overall views the addicts talked about were not what young people like them could look up to. If they didn't have factories and purple liquid in their hands, street gangsters like them would, and drug addicts are completely 2 levels of characters. Jia Yan in the cave didn't know that the factory above had undergone such big changes. Even the addict, who was known as the strongest killer in the country, was recalled by the Northeast wild tiger, but even if he knew it, he probably wouldn't care about it, because he wouldn't care about anything in the human world as long as it wasn't directly related to his family, because he is just a mosquito. However, this mosquito is very powerful and unique. To be continued. Thanks to H Yang UH, have you registered, Quiet 878KH. Just read the book without bubbling. Rewards from book friends such as Menjing Luo Luo and Toda King Li Jing. At the same time, I would like to thank the book friends who voted for recommendation. Thank you. Chapter 35 The Well-Deserved Giant Mosquito. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Please collect, that I don't know how much time passed before Jia Yan recovered from his drowsy feeling. the mysterious juice transforms the body, and after the initial pain passes, it turns into a trickle. This trickling feeling is very comfortable. As a result, Jia Yan actually fell asleep, and then he was confused and didn't know how long it took. How long have I been asleep? Jia Yan woke up and looked at the scenery at his feet. He felt that the height of his compound eyes had indeed increased a bit. Jia Yan shook his wings and shook off the slightly condensed dry hard matter on his body. With a click, he stood up from the pile of rubble. The body has grown a few centimeters more. It is estimated to be about 17 or 18 centimeters, and the tail needle will reach 20 centimeters. Jia Yan's compound eyes flickered, and he crawled toward the giant locust corpses without thinking. He will continue to devour. Picking up a corpse of a dragonfly, the mouth needle penetrated into the opponent's brain without any hindrance. Time flies, and another 2 days have passed. In the poorly lit underground world, a huge animal over 20 centimeters in size was crawling in the gravel. He seemed to have entered a state of hibernation, feeling groggy. There is a layer of light condensation material on the surface of this giant mosquito's body. After part of this material condenses into hard blocks, it merges with the existing condensation on its surface and becomes part of the new armor. This huge mosquito can already be called a giant mosquito. It has an extremely long body that reaches 25 centimeters including its tail needle. Moreover, the bloated body is full of hard clots that have been mutated specifically for defense. These clots cover the surface of the body, layer upon layer, as if they were formed after countless beatings. The addition of these clots does not make the mosquito look unsightly. Instead, it makes its appearance appear smooth and streamlined, black and shiny. The overall feeling is that it is not a mosquito, but a terrifying creature from another world. I don't know how long it took, but the 2 tentacles of this crawling giant mosquito flickered. Click. Some of the secreted substances on the tentacles that had not solidified with the clot to form armor fell to the ground with a shattering sound. Click, click, click. As the giant mosquito stood up, more and more fragments fell, hitting the ground with a crisp sound. Wait for this giant mosquito to fully rise from the rubble. It was as if an extremely ferocious monster had stepped out of the abyss. His whole body was shiny black, his compound eyes were faint, and his outer layer was actually wrapped with a light layer of transparent defensive clot. This mosquito, which has become more and more huge in biological form, is none other than Jia Yan. After 2 days, he once again absorbed the mysterious juice from the brains of 36 giant cockroaches, and finally took another step to forge his body into an even bigger and stronger body. I can feel that there is actually a part of the juice in the body that has not taken effect. Looking at it this way, absorbing the juice in a short period of time will have no effect. Jia Yan felt his body. After feeling that there was still a part of the mysterious juice in the body that could not be digested, I couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. If he could really absorb the mysterious juice unlimitedly and continue to grow like this, then before long, he felt that he would grow into a terrifying creature that even he could not have expected. Sure enough, there really is no such good thing in the world. Seeing that he was stuck in a bottleneck, Jia Yan felt more at ease. The mysterious juice is not completely ineffective, it is just temporarily unable to be absorbed, and just by sucking the juice from the brains of the giant flaming red centipede and more than 30 centipedes, he was extremely happy with the effect. It is true that if you add the 3rd mutation in this cave, Jia Yan has made an unimaginable and huge progress here. Before entering the cave, he was already considered a giant mosquito, with a length of nearly 10 centimeters. He was a giant mosquito that was basically impossible to find in nature. But what happens after entering this cave? The 3rd mutation completed here made him reach 13 centimeters, then take 2 large sips of the mysterious juice. Now, it has jumped directly to a supergiant body of 25 centimeters including the tail needle. Well-deserved giant mosquito. It is impossible to find it in nature. Jia Yan looked at the world in front of him. The ground became shorter and he could see farther. Compared with the larval mosquito stage that just crawled out of the pond, this change can be said to be earth-shaking. Even before entering this cave, it was incredibly different. I am truly powerful now. Jia Yanfu looked at the underground world outside the cave. There are countless creatures there, and there are many mysteries, even in the brains of living beings, there is this kind of juice that makes them further grow in size. Let's go outside and take a look. My survivability has definitely improved to a new level now. Maybe now I don't have to be afraid of their tail needle attacks when I encounter those armies. Not afraid of the attack of the scorpion army, that's just a guess. If we really encounter one, whether we should fight or flee will only depend on the situation at that time. After all, those army of centipedes could paralyze even the fiery red centipede to the point of almost death. It was precisely because the centipede was paralyzed that Jia Yan finally took advantage. Jia Yan doesn't know if his defense power reaches the level of the fire red centipede, and he doesn't dare to guarantee his clot defense. If there are any small gaps, if so, he will be better than the fire red centipede in a real fight. The end is not much better. But all in all, Jia Yan is much stronger than before. The giant mosquito stepped on the gravel with its 6 thick long legs and climbed up to a high place. The wing muscles on his abdomen slowly tightened. Snap, snap, snap. The wings, which also grow and expand along with the body, slowly flap with the exertion of muscles. Bang bang bang, buzz, buzz buzz. The huge and noisy sound echoed in this empty cave. Jia Yan felt that after he mutated to such a huge size, the noise from his wings would definitely be a problem. Otherwise, when he returns to the surface, he doesn't need others to see him. He can hear the noise from a distance and then look up to catch a glimpse of his figure, but now is not the time to think about such problems. The flapping of Jia Yan's wings has reached a relatively fast frequency. If before about 10 centimeters, it was possible for his muscles to flap his wings to reach human strength, then according to his current body shape, the muscles to flap his wings are completely it can be said that it exceeds the power that humans can possess. If the muscles of the wings could be replaced by hands, Jia Yan might not lose in an arm wrestle with all humans. Of course that's just conjecture. Huge black mosquitoes gradually flew into the air from the top of the rubble pile, then, the mosquito's body drew a beautiful arc in the air. Fly towards the underground world outside the cave. Buzz. Extremely noisy, it seemed as if his mosquito could make more noise than an army of midges. Wow, when Jia Yan flew over the clear stream outside the cave, a huge grass carp, about 50 centimeters in size, suddenly jumped out of the water. Its fish mouth opens and it is about to bite the prey flying out of the air. Judging from its size, this grass carp is most likely the one Jia Yan encountered before. Jia Yan did not dodge this time, but had a strange sneer in his eyes, flapping his wings, and waited in the air. While the grass carp was jumping up, I was surprised to see this somewhat familiar figure. Why does this flying monster seem to have grown so much? The grass carp's memory is limited and he can't remember exactly how this flying monster once launched a tragic attack on it. But it has already jumped up. If you don't give it a try, how can it be willing to do so? If such a big prey is dragged into the water, it can be a feast. Jia Yan's compound eyes are faint in the sky. The moment the grass carp jumped up quickly, its mouth almost bit Jia Yan's long foot. The faintly shining tail needle on Jia Yan's abdomen moved like lightning and flint. Stabbed directly into the body of the grass carp jumping in the air. After another progressive change in the mysterious juice, the length of Jia Yan's tail needle has reached about 3.5 centimeters. This tail needle is already an extremely dangerous weapon for humans or any living creature. The tail needle, which had been prepared for a long time, was as easy as a piece of cake to hit this grass carp that was flying in the air and had no ability to dodge. So, when a faint piercing sound of came from the lower abdomen, Jia Yan knew that this grass carp that had been annoying him was definitely doomed. It sneaks up on me again and again, and now I kill it, and by the way, I study whether there is mysterious juice in fish, so I think I deserve it. Snap! The giant grass carp that reached 50 centimeters in the air shook and flapped its tail violently. Its head was directly stabbed by the giant tail needle. The 3.5 centimeters long tail needle penetrated into its head, causing severe pain. So this grass carp struggled. Jia Yan felt an unprecedented heaviness, pulling his body into the stream. This grass carp definitely weighs more than 10 kilograms. If Jia Yan cannot bear the weight, he will either release the tail needle and let it return to the stream, or it will drag it into the bottom of the water. But Jia Yan, who had mutated 3 times and had 2 further enlargements with mysterious juice, came to Shuyuan www. Will zhaoshuyuan.com not be able to bear this weight? Wake it up for me. Just when his body fell crazily, Jia Yan shouted in his heart. The huge wings suddenly flapped at a faster frequency. Buzz buzz, the grass carp discovered that its hooked body was actually being carried by the other party and gradually flew away from the direction of the stream. Then, there was a chirp sound. It was thrown by Jia Yan on the bank far away from the stream. The power of Jia Yan's wings is by no means easy at this time. It's not too strenuous to hold such a huge grass carp in flight. He has really become stronger. Okay, now let me see if you also have the mysterious juice. Jia Yan's huge body stood next to the grass carp, and the cold light in his compound eyes was very obvious. The next moment, Jia Yan ignored the grass carp writhing on the ground and inserted his mouth needle into the other fish's head. To be continued. I wonder if there are any book friends who can post on Longkong. Please recommend this book to the trial reading section. According to the rules of that section, I cannot recommend my own book. Buyu doesn't want to violate the rules, and he also wants to see Long Kongzhong's reaction to this book, so he has no choice but to ask for your help. Thanks to have you registered yet, Arrakis, Toda King Li Jing, Easy Fall, I laughed and cried and forgot and other brothers and sisters for their rewards, and thank you to everyone who voted for recommendation, thank you. Chapter 36 Human Relics. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Come and collect a few. Beside the clear stream, a grass carp kept tossing and jumping on the bank. No. When Jia Yan pulled out his mouthparts from the grass carp's head, this grass carp was silent. Its huge body lay on the cold sand and gravel, losing its breath. Jia Yan was silent for a moment, then shook his head. After his investigation, he found no mysterious juice in the brain of this grass carp. Then his guess is correct, whether it's the medicinal liquid from the Northeast Wild Tiger Factory, the black liquid, or this underground world, they can only promote the growth of insect-like creatures, or even certain specific species of insects. Jia Yan still doesn't know what secrets there are, but at least he has found this most basic rule. I have never even seen a pure flying insect mutate successfully. Of course, the giant crickets in this underground world cannot be counted, because they are the indigenous people here and are not mutant creatures at all. Then my mutation will be unique. If my previous guess is correct, it is not that Diptera insects cannot mutate, but because their bodies are too weak to withstand the destruction of the power of mutation, they become mortality. And it is precisely because the previous body was too weak that my progress and plasticity are the greatest. The body that has been mutated step by step, the previous weak body has long been covered by the mutation process, so I will be better than other bodies, a powerful centipede or something like that, but also has the potential to grow. Precisely because it is weak, it is more likely. Jia Yan looked around and saw that the ground beside the stream was exactly where the fiery red centipede died a few days ago. But now the body of the fiery red centipede can no longer be seen here, and I don't know which predator dragged it away. Leaving the big fish on the spot, Jia Yan flapped his wings and flew up from the ground. On the fly, constantly analyzing, some things become clearer the more you think about them. Jia Yan flew over a bush. This bush should actually be called grass, but because the grass and trees are so lush, it becomes like a large bush, covering an extremely wide area. It was in this bush that there was a pair of huge bulging eyes, staring at Jia Yan's flying figure. When Jia Yan flies over these eyes, those bulging eyes turn suddenly. The next moment, the owner of these eyes spit out the long, soft tongue in his mouth. The tongue is like a flexible little snake, making a piercing sound in the air, and shooting electricity at the flying creatures in mid-air. Jia Yan was thinking about things in the air. He had a human soul and couldn't stop thinking for a moment, so sometimes his vigilance would become lowered. The moment the long tongue shot out, he also saw the attacking object through his compound eyes. He also wanted to hide, but the long tongue was too fast. Before he could dodge, the long tongue stuck to his abdomen, and then a huge force pulled him downwards. At this time, the predator's figure has been exposed to Jia Yan's eyes. It is a giant toad with disgusting protrusions all over its body and pimples all over its skin. This toad is over 30 centimeters in size. It is just a lump on the ground. It is really huge. Humph, it's just a giant toad. Jia Yan's compound eyes flashed with strange light, and then he flapped his wings hard. Buzz! The whole body flew upwards, easily breaking free of the long tongue that was stuck to itself. Jia Yan, who has mutated so many times, has long been far stronger than his own size. He can't even guess how strong he is now. The mosquito's body turned in a circle in the air, aiming at the toad below, and was about to attack it head-on. No! This toad looks poisonous. In mid-air, Jia Yan looked at the lumpy toad, and sighed slightly unwillingly, but still flapped his wings and flew away from the bush. Even if the toad was not poisonous, he did not want to assassinate such a disgusting creature. He doesn't eat meat, so there's no benefit in killing him, right? It seems that I will try in the future to see if my body is resistant to poison. However, mutation is not a panacea. Even if the body has resistance, it will not be immune to all poisons. The sound of mosquitoes flying spreads far in the underground space. In fact, this space is only about 5 kilometers long and wide. If Jia Yan flies with all his strength, it won't take long to fly from one side to the other, but he didn't do this, but kept patrolling high in the sky. There seems to be items from the human world on the ground over there. Not long after, Jia Yan saw something shiny on the ground. He flew over. After observing the left and right sides and confirming that there was no danger, Jia Yan controlled his body and landed. This is a mirror with a phosphorescent surface. Even after many years, it can still clearly reflect Jia Yan's ferocious mutated mouthparts. It seems that the humans who died in the cave have also been here. Jia Yan looked around and found no more human belongings, so he flew directly into the sky. There are too many reasons why humans may die in this underground world. Those humans looked like they were wearing military uniforms and equipped with guns and ammunition. But there are many terrifying giant creatures in the underground world. Jia Yan can come and go freely now because he has the advantage of flying. If humans advance on the ground, they will encounter huge creatures and be killed. Of course, for humans with thermal weapons, ordinary giant creatures may not be enough to stop them, but another most powerful killer will definitely make them with hot weapons helpless and have no choice but to wait for death. That's the toxins in the air. Yes, Jia Yan had thought about it. Although he guessed that the air in the underground world was a key factor in the enlargement of animals, it was not necessarily such a good thing for humans. Even for many creatures, this is not an easy place to survive. Therefore, Jia Yan can roughly calculate the scene decades ago. The human team managed to kill some giant creatures, but due to the toxins in the air, they became poisoned and died one by one. In the process of finally escaping to the cave, a large number of them died on the way. Then some Japanese institutions researched that the air in this underground world contains special substances. Then immediately, the factory appeared above the crack connected to the cave. Then, a war broke out in the factory and other places. It was simply forgotten and abandoned for decades, until the Siberian wild tiger used certain means to reopen it. This should be the whole process of the incident. Jia Yan felt that his guess was accurate. Buzz buzz, he is still flying in the air. Sometimes there are even some huge creatures below, attacking him at a height of up to 10 meters. A bug that looked like a cowdow bug, but its body was hundreds of times larger than a normal cowdow bug. This bug thought that Jia Yan had invaded his territory. When Jia Yan flew over its territory, it knocked its head on the ground and its body instantly ejected. Crash into Jia Yan flying in the air. Jia Yan naturally dodged easily, and the cowdow insect didn't even touch a hair on his head. The number of creatures here is huge, but somehow the food source is also extremely abundant. At least this number of creatures can be maintained to thrive here. They are full of aggression. Not to mention carnivorous animals, even vegetarian creatures like cowdow bugs are extremely violent. I don't know if it's due to the special air and environment here. I should pay more attention. Jia Yan felt that it was necessary to control his urge to kill, otherwise what difference would he make to these wild creatures? Just as Jia Yan continued to explore the world. What is that? Another human object, an object lying on the ground, almost half buried in the soil, was keenly observed by Jia Yan's compound eyes. Jia Yan looked around. There is a giant snake with a body of more than 3 meters on the ground, hovering on the ground and resting. This giant snake is obviously a cobra species, but its body shape is directly green, very similar to the color of the vegetation. Jia Yan looked hesitantly at the human object buried within 5 meters of the giant snake. He was considering whether to go down and explore this item. If it's a mirror or a bad helmet, there's no need to risk it. Because no matter how you look at that giant snake, it is not easy to provoke when looking for Shuyuan. www.zhaoshuyuan.com. It doesn't seem to be a mirror or a helmet. This is a notepad. There was a faint look in Jia Yanfu's eyes. As for the notepad, it's really necessary to take the risk to snatch it. Because this kind of notepad is usually used to record some important events. Especially if those humans are soldiers, there may be more official records, if there are some secrets recorded on it, or other important things that these humans have discovered here. It will be of great help to Jia Yan, although Jia Yan doesn't understand Japanese or anything. However, the characters of the Japanese country were greatly influenced by Chinese characters. A large part of them are Chinese characters. Even if you are confused, you have a good chance of guessing what they mean. Thinking of this, Jia Yan made a decision. The sound of his flight had already alerted the green cobra below. At this time, the muscles of this big snake were spread out at 7 inches, like a pair of small wings. The snake's mouth made a hissing sound and kept spitting out snake messages. This is a threat to Jia Yan. No matter what, I want to get this notepad. Jia Yan flew towards this big snake. To be continued. Thanks to book friend Enjing for the 588 tip. Thanks to Safcaf book friend for the 588 tip. Thanks to book friends such as Have You Registered, Menjing Luoluo, Toda King Li Jing, and other book friends for their rewards. Also, thank you to all the book friends who voted for recommendation. You are the biggest motivation for updates during Naked Run. UU Reading welcomes book lovers to come and read. The latest, fastest, and most popular serial works are all available in UU Reading. UU reads books. Chapter 37, Got the Notepad. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Please collect and recommend. As if seeing a formidable enemy, the emerald green cobra kept hissing at Jia Yan in the air. This should be a special species of cobra that evolved and bred in the underground world environment. Its trunk reaches 3 meters in length. Although it is not that long, the whole body is an emerald green color, and it looks like it is extremely toxic. What Jia Yan is most afraid of now is this kind of opponent. In terms of fighting against physical attacks, he has a mutated body that emphasizes defense, coupled with experience in many battles and insights from studying tactics. Although Jia Yan is not completely unafraid of physical attacks, he at least has the corresponding means and reactions, but when it comes to fighting poisons, I really don't have any confidence. The emerald-eyed snake showed its greatest vigilance and hostility towards Jia Yan. First, the opponent is flying in the sky and can attack or escape at any time. Secondly, the opponent's huge size is a giant that is impossible to see in this underground world's army of cockroaches that are like the king of the sky. This kind of figure that had never appeared before made the snake very wary. Jia Yan flew down, and the emerald cobra was ready to attack at any time. Buzz! Jia Yan was like a dive fighter, quickly sliding down from the sky. Sprint! The two were approaching rapidly, and the big bloody mouth of the emerald green snake slowly opened. Once he's close enough, he'll be ready to attack. Hiss! Its 7-inch wings spread to the limit, indicating that it is extremely angry and excited at this time. If the opponent dares to get closer, he will be bitten to death. Buzz! Jia Yan finally came within 30 centimeters of the opponent's head. Hiss! The emerald green cobra finally couldn't bear it anymore. The bloody mouth opened wide, the snake's head shot out, and it bit the flying creature in the air. This is the time, Jia Yan, who was flying in the air, had already been fully prepared for vigilance. At this time, the alarm in his heart completely sounded. The moment the opponent attacked, he flapped his wings with all his strength. Buzz, the mosquito body made an exquisite turn in midair. His flight path is a beautiful S-shape. He dodged the lightning-quick bite of the big snake. It's so exciting. So it's really interesting to fight with all kinds of powerful creatures, that while Jia Yan was flying, he felt that his mutated, more powerful vascular bundle-shaped heart was beating crazily, mixing blood with oxygen and transporting it to various organs throughout the body. Although the battles in the past few days were more dangerous each time, it was this danger that made Jia Yan unable to extricate himself. He fell in love with the exciting feeling in this kind of battle. Hiss. Once the emerald green cobra launches an attack, its body is fully extended. It swims behind Jia Yan's low-altitude flying body, constantly pursuing. Jia Yan pretended that it was difficult to fly high, and once or twice he actually landed within the attack range of the big snake. However, before the emerald green god pounced and bit him, he had already controlled his body and flew high again. After flying for 20 or 30 meters like this, the big snake seemed unwilling to pursue it any longer. In this underground world, the concept of territory is very strong. Some carnivores and vegetarian animals have their own exclusive territories. Although different types of carnivores may have overlapping territories, the two are often incompatible with each other. The reason why the emerald green snake is unwilling to move forward is that the front is the feeding territory of another giant snake. If it enters rashly, it may cause a fight. Anyway, this huge flying creature can't be killed, so just drive it out. It controls the body and is about to return. Have you reached your limit? Jia Yan, who was flying in the air and constantly teasing the green cobra, felt that the green cobra behind him was no longer pursuing him, so he paused. It unfolds at full speed. Instead of leaving quickly, he rushed towards the location of the notepad. Hiss. When the big snake on the ground saw this flying creature, it didn't learn its lesson. It turned around again and invaded its own territory. It suddenly became furious again. Chase this flying creature. If the opponent dares to fall, he must kill it with all his strength this time. The big snakes pursued furiously, but one was flying in the sky and the other was snaking fast on the ground. Originally, Jia Yan's flying speed was much faster than this big snake. In addition, the opponent was on the ground, blocked by many shrubs and weeds, and his speed was severely hindered, so when Jia Yan landed near the notepad, the big snake was still about 15 meters away from Jia Yan. We still have to speed up. Jia Yan looked at the notepad. This was a notebook that had not been damaged too much after decades. Fortunately, its surface was completely sealed by plastic film, wrapped in 2 layers. This ensures that decades later, it will still have a relatively complete appearance. Without further ado, Jia Yan stretched out a pair of front legs without looking too much. Hold the edge of this notepad and lift it gently. Huh. It's buried so tightly. Jia Yan didn't even mention it. The emerald green cobra had already jumped to about 7 or 8 meters. Jia Yan quickly pulled harder. The strength of Mosquito's feet was not very great to begin with, but after Jia Yan's several mutations, the strength of his feet cannot be underestimated. Even if it does not reach the inhuman level like the wings, it at least belongs to the category of monsters. At this time, a pair of front legs pulled with all their strength. With a sound of ouch, the soft mud and sand in the underground world could not stop his power at all, and was directly pulled out of the notepad by his power. At this time, the big snake has reached less than 3 meters. Jia Yan's compound eyes stared at the emerald green cobra in front of him. At the same time, his wings began to explode with power. Bang bang bang, the big snake's mouth is open, and the saliva in the bloody mouth is flowing horizontally, and the inverted fangs are about to inject venom into the enemy. After a short period of brewing, the frequency of Jia Yan's wings flapping suddenly accelerated. Buzz! The mosquito's body flew directly into the sky. The venomous fangs of the emerald green cobra barely scraped one of Jia Yan's feet, and it almost hit him, but it still missed by just a hair. Snap! Bite in the empty space. Jia Yan held a notepad between his front feet and flew high into the sky. The beating of the bundled blood vessel heart has not yet completely calmed down. This series of excitement is beyond words. Although Jia Yan feels that with his own clot defense, even if he is bitten by a big snake, his defense may not be broken, but if the other party's toxin contacts the body through the gaps between the clots, it may not be okay. After all, this kind of large emerald green cobra has never been heard of in the outside world. God knows how powerful its venom is. Fortunately, I was not bitten. Jia Yan flew to an altitude of more than 10 meters. It seems that except for those giant cockroaches, there are no other flying creatures that can threaten me, so I can relax a little bit. He glanced at the notepad held between his forefoot. The notepad is only about 16 to 17 centimeters long and only about 10 centimeters wide. It is a typical portable notepad, however. The style is relatively old, and the cover is only made of waxy thick paper, which is decades away from the modern style of plastic sealing with a layer of film. But of course, this was originally something from decades ago. The waterproof plastic wrapped on its surface was slightly damaged, which is why Jia Yan was able to spot it from the air. Fortunately, the overall appearance is relatively complete. Jia Yan flew in the air for a moment, his compound eyes flashing. If you want to read the notepad, you must find a quiet place where you will not be disturbed. After thinking about it, he decided to go back to the cave from which he came out. It's relatively safe there. Just as he thought, Jia Yan spread out his body and flew towards the cave that was not far away. This underground world is very small. If it is only 5 kilometers long and wide, it only takes a few minutes for Jia Yan to fly from one end to the other. Soon arriving at the front of the cave, Jia Yan let his body land quickly. This time no grass carp jumped up to attack him. This made Jia Yan feel a little inexplicably melancholy, feeling that it was not a good idea to kill the grass carp, but this thought only passed by for a moment. In the natural world, natural selection is the rule. If the grass carp bites him to death the first time, he will not blame anything, so there is no need to blame himself. Enter the cave. Jia Yan placed the notepad among the rubble. Then he carefully tidied up the place where a lot of gravel had accumulated. If it were an ordinary creature, it would definitely not care about the living environment, but what Jia Yan possesses is a human soul. He has lived in this pile of rubble several times and has long been dissatisfied with the environment here. After several mutations, and with the help of the mysterious juice from before, his strength and body were large enough. With the efforts of his 6 front legs, it was still possible to push some small stones, so in this pile of rubble, a mosquito became busy. Wow! Stones were pushed and lifted one by one. Jia Yan found that the power of his 6 long legs varied, and the way he exerted force was also different. The 2 front legs can pick up some rocks and also have a certain amount of propulsive power, making them the most balanced. The midfoot is the weakest among the 6 long legs. Whether it is holding or pushing, it is lagging behind the other 2 pairs of long legs. The hind legs are completely unable to control the precise holding of things. Find Shuyu on www.zhhuan.com. Its strongest point is that its thrust is incredibly powerful. Jia Yan even tried it, with his front and middle feet touching the ground, and a pair of hind feet pushing hard. It actually pushed about 20 kilograms of rocks away from where they originally were. I never thought that a mosquito like me would one day gain strength measured in kilograms. Jia Yan is basically satisfied with his current infinite strength. He feels that as long as he works hard, this power will become even stronger in the future. The work efficiency of 6 long legs is really not something that can be built. In not much time, a simple house was formed. This house has no roof, but the walls and so on still have some appearance. Jia Yan used a large stone with a smooth surface as a table, placed the notepad on the table, and carefully removed the protective plastic layer on the surface. Kara. The plastic film, which is old and has been weathered for decades, makes a crisp tearing sound. After cleaning it, the notepad under the film appeared completely in front of Jia Yan. What surprised Jia Yan was that the surface of the book was not written in Japanese characters, but in traditional Chinese, with the word official affairs written on it. There is a signature signed in pen below, the name is in correct font, Li Qicheng. To be continued, thanks to the book friend, buried, for the 588 tip. Thank you to book friends such as, I don't know what time it is, Yusher, Toda Heavenly King Li Jing, and others for their rewards. And thank you to everyone who voted for recommendation. UU Reading welcomes all book lovers to come and read. The latest, fastest, and most popular serial works are all available in UU Reading. UU reads books. Chapter 38 Divine Object. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Jia Yen carefully opened the first page of the notepad with his right forefoot. Li Qicheng, Lieutenant of the Ji Province Guards of Damon Kingdom, Demangguo. Isn't this a puppet regime supported by the Japanese country in China nearly 100 years ago? It seems that when these human soldiers came here, it was probably 80 or 90 years ago. Jia Yen can roughly judge the time from this line of writing. He turned to the first page of descriptions, March 12, Showa 11. I am hereby ordered by Colonel Yoshida to lead 50 sergeants, as well as Dr. Uehara and other followers from the Japanese Friendship Institute, a total of 37 people, to investigate the rumors of Ryosui Bata Caves. Jia Yen felt a little headache looking at this half-ruiny red text, but Japanese language is not lucky. He can roughly know the situation from these descriptions. Jia Yen continued to read. This notebook is obviously a more official recording style. If these people returned to the ground back then, they might have handed this notebook to them for preservation in the future. One day, while exploring Bata Caves, Dr. Uehara and others did not expect that the cave was too deep. During the descent, there was no news from the 5 people. Later, I used the serial method to descend into the cave. On the second day, Dr. Uehara made a discovery in this cave, which was a great discovery in medical science. 3 people died suddenly for no apparent reason. On the third day, a strange beast attacked the cave, killing 11 people. On the fourth day, the world outside the cave discovered that Dr. Uehara held the opinion of exploration, and the sergeant had no choice but to die. On the 5th day, there were many strange beasts, and more than half of the soldiers were there. On the 6th day, I went too deep and far. The way home was close at hand but far away. What a disaster. On the 7th day, the team of exploration sergeants and Uehara doctors will only be 10 people. We will die here. On the 8th day, I suddenly felt cramping in my abdomen, vomited blood, and my vision was blurred. Dr. Uehara discovered a strange body and said it was a supernatural being. Moreover, this place is one with the Japanese sacred mountain Fuji and a cave at the foot of the mountain. On the 9th, Dr. Uehara also died suddenly. There are only 5 survivors. On the 10th day, I had difficulty moving, and those 4 people also abandoned me. When I was leaving, the Japanese Ogong shot me in the leg, making me unable to move. Hate, hate, hate. Japanese pirates. Li Qicheng has no hope of revenge in this life. He only hopes to avenge this in the next life. Ogong is a treacherous child, and the Japanese soldiers who killed my people, please wait for me, Li Qicheng. I don't know how many days, but my breath is coming and going, and I am about to die. But I saw a strange scene, and I need to record it. There is a strange movement of something magical outside the sky. This thing, when Jia Yen saw this, he saw that the pen line suddenly drew downwards, directly drawing a long vertical line across the entire page. There are some eye-catching blood stains on the book. He then thought about the blood that had dried for an unknown amount of time on the cover of the notepad and the plastic film, and he couldn't help but let out a sigh in his heart. It must have been at the end of writing that the pseudo-Manchurian lieutenant named Li Qicheng felt that he was going to die, so he wrapped the notepad with plastic film. Although this person may not have thought at the time that future generations would obtain this notepad. But because this notebook was very important and finally recorded some of his mood, maybe this person felt that the notebook was a little bit of sustenance for him, so he protected it with a film. Unexpectedly, dozens of years later, this notepad would actually be in the hands of Jia Yen, who was reborn as a mosquito. Things in the world are unpredictable, and perhaps that person would never have thought of this divine turn of events, so, let's analyze this notepad that doesn't record much text. In fact, there were more complicated descriptions on the notepad, such as the ratio of personnel going into the cave that day, and some professional records, but Jia Yan did not pay much attention to these, just chewing on those notes. The so-called Showa 11th year, when is it approximately? I think it was the time when the puppet Manchuria existed. There were nearly 100 people in this team. After Li Qiqing was left behind, 4 more people walked out. However, the place where the notepad was found was still quite a distance from the cave. These 4 people were at least still alive when they came back. There is a loss, and just as Jia Yan thought, Li Qiqing revealed between the lines that someone died strangely and inexplicably. This is proof that the air in the underground world contains fatal toxicity to humans. What happened after that should be very simple. The few survivors returned to the ground, and then the Japanese country gathered many medical scientists to analyze and study the air that penetrated from the exit of the Tabata cave, and then used the method to extract the air. Method: peel out the black liquid, and finally process it into a purple liquid. Perhaps the Japanese country still has plans to explore this underground world, but from the appearance of several buildings in the factory, it can be seen that a battle probably broke out, and then those buildings were completely forgotten in history, until, the 3 buildings were restarted by the Siberian wild tigers through unknown means. Then, the medicinal solution is produced. In order to win over drug addicts, Siberian wild tigers boarded the train. Jia Yan, who was heading to Shanghai, happened to be on that train. Then Jia Yan risked his life and tried the purple-red medicinal solution. After a narrow escape, he got his first and biggest opportunity in his life. The mutation officially began. Only then did the next series of stories unfold. As long as things are connected and analyzed, you can quickly figure out the reason. Perhaps my current achievements can be attributed to the help of Li Qiqing, that without the exploration of this group of ancients, perhaps the 3 buildings would not have appeared. If the buildings did not appear, the Northeast Wild Tigers factory would naturally not be able to open. So of course, the several mutations that Jia Yan relied on the factory were also impossible. Even if the revenge is still successful, he and Yu Yuan will definitely die together. Even if he is lucky enough to survive, he must have reached the end of his lifespan now and will die immediately. But, what is the divine object in this description? Jia Yan turned the page back to the page with the record of divine objects. The so-called Dr. Uehara should be a Japanese doctor in the puppet Manchuria at that time. It is recorded in a notebook that they saw something, and Dr. Uehara actually said it was some kind of divine object. Moreover, there is also a cave in the Japanese country, and there is also a divine object there. Jia Yan carefully closed the notepad again. After such long-term use, the front feet have become very handy. Apart from not having 5 fingers, they are no slower than human fingers. Jia Yan hid the notepad in a gap made of stones, which became his locker. Then, he stood up taller. What is that divine object? Why have I traveled around the underground world but never seen it? Jia Yan's compound eyes flickered, and he had a vague feeling that this so-called divine object was related to the wonderful ecology of this underground world, and might even be the main cause of this ecology. If this guess is correct, then how much benefit will something like this that can cause such a large-scale change have to me? Thinking of this, Jia Yan felt uncontrollably excited. He didn't care what this kind of thing was. Until now, Jia Yan had seen a lot of weird things and things. If he tried to get to the bottom of everything, he would be endless, so he doesn't investigate the deep-seated reasons, especially for things like this that don't have any clues. Unless he sees it with his own eyes and then touches it from the front or from the side, Jia Yan will have certain guesses and judgments. Until then, it was all fantasy. Okay. Since these ancients can find that divine object, it shouldn't be difficult for me. Anyway, the mysterious juice has no effect on me for the time being, so I have nothing to do, so let's go find this divine object. Jia Yan flapped his wings. Fly out of the cave again. He began the process of searching for so-called divine objects in the underground world. Jia Yen himself never thought that what he thought was a simple search would actually last for many days. Just in these days, the factory on the ground has changed again. Bang bang. In the quiet and deserted forest area, gunshots were heard at this time, as two gunshots rang out, on an ancient tree that could only be hugged by two people. A man who was almost integrated with the environment fell lifelessly from the crown of the tree more than 20 meters high to the ground. There was a loud bang and it hit the ground. And further away, a beautiful woman with a peach-like face was running quickly. She has a gorgeous figure, with a curvy body that perfectly matches her stunning figure. It can be called a peerless beauty. But this woman looked like she was sweating continuously regardless of her appearance. She stumbled and ran away among the vegetation. Oh! There was a sudden sound in a bush not far away. The woman's face changes color, and in her delicate white palms, look for Shuyuan www.Zayashuan.com is actually carrying a shotgun. At this time, she aimed the gun in the direction of the sound and directly pulled the trigger. Bump! As thick smoke rolled up, the woman didn't even look at the results of the battle, but hurriedly rolled on the ground. He has a strong figure, which is completely opposite to his delicate appearance. Just as she rolled out, another gunshot rang out, the flames exploded, and the bullets flew directly towards the woman at a speed close to the speed of sound. But before the woman was shot, the woman had already jumped away with vigilance, and the bullet actually missed. It just shot a bullet hole of unknown depth into the ground. Okay. Poison Jasmine, you are indeed the darling of the killer world that has emerged in the country in recent years. You can actually dodge my shot. That the next moment the beautiful woman dodged the gunfire. A slightly thin middle-aged man slowly walked out from behind a tree trunk more than 20 meters away from her. This person has an ordinary face, the kind of face that would be instantly buried if thrown into a crowd, but his eyes now seem to have a kind of divine light. Anyone who has seen them will find it difficult to forget them. It is a look that only a strong person can have, which can make people involuntarily fear and want to worship. To be continued, thanks to book friend, Arrakis, for the 588 tip. Thanks to the Easy Fall book friend for the 588 tip. Thanks to book friends such as, Have You Registered Yet, Toda King Li Jing, 878KH, Jing Jing, You Sure, and Z278187085, etc., and also thank all the book friends who voted for recommendation. UU Reading welcomes all book lovers to come and read. The latest, fastest, and most popular serial works are all available in UU Reading. UU Reads Books. Chapter 39 The Deterrent Power of Top Killers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Horse, please collect it. In fact, the woman is thinking the same way now. In the previous half hour, her 5-person team set off confidently. However, in less than half an hour, the other 4 teammates actually died one by one. The man in front of me has this in his hands. You must know that among the 4 people, 2 are well-known security experts in the country, the other is a mercenary master who has been living abroad all year round, and the remaining one is said to have just retired from the position of the king of soldiers in a certain army in order to join their group. Team, carry out this mission. And she herself is a top killer who has recently become famous in China. She is known as the Poison Jasmine, who has both beauty and the art of killing. Such a group of 5 people was actually wiped out by this middle-aged man in front of him. Who are you? Poison Jasmine's heart sank. She had already pointed the gun in her hand at the opponent, but judging from the previous situation, she knew that she would definitely lose. It seems that your employer has concealed the most important information from you. That the thin man shook his head and slowly walked towards the beautiful woman. He had his hands behind his back, as if he had no defense at all. That's right. If they knew it was me, more than half of the team that came this time would have quit. They had good intentions. They wanted to rely on the human C tactic to make me exhausted or injured. After the thin middle-aged man said this, he turned his attention to Poison Jasmine, who quietly hooked a white finger on the trigger of the gun and was ready to fire. He seemed not to have seen the other party's actions, just laugh. You are known as the most dazzling rising star in the country's killer world in recent times. But even I don't know you. It shows that your name's. The thin man hasn't finished speaking yet. The stunning woman has suddenly pulled the trigger. A trace of disappointment appeared on the face of the thin middle-aged man. Not worthy, that his body seemed to be swinging to his side casually. And with this move, the bullets shot out by the gun in Poison Jasmine's hand seemed to be actively avoiding him, grazing the side of the thin middle-aged man one by one, and flying out in dangerous ways. At this time, the thin man stretched out his right hand behind his back. In his right hand was a small pistol of ancient style. The muzzle of the gun was fierce at this time. The thin man pointed his pistol at the beautiful woman and pulled the trigger. Bang! Smoke fills the air, the woman's eyes widened. There was a circular bullet hole in the center of her forehead, and blood was gurgling down along it. At the last moment of her life, she seemed to finally recognize who the man in front of her was. Addiction. One word emerged from her pretty red lips, but what came out together was a touch of bright red blood. This beautiful woman who could confuse all living beings fell to the ground. The beautiful killer named Poison Jasmine died in a mission. The man who has been obsessed with her in recent years will definitely be shocked. This is a poisonous jasmine flower that is highly regarded in the circle, not only because of her beautiful name, but also because her killing methods and abilities are superior to ordinary killers. But those people could never have imagined that the beautiful killer they rated highly would be casually killed by an ordinary-looking middle-aged man during this operation. Of course, if these people see the true face of the middle-aged man, they will definitely realize it. Because he is the true strongest being in the Chinese killer world. The legendary killer known as the Addict. Poison Jasmine is far behind compared to this legendary figure. Whether it's a story about traveling across Europe or a solo battle against the 4 top killers in the Star-Spangled Banner country. As well as the assassination of a certain pirate leader, these are battles that people in the domestic circle can happily chat about while drinking. And Poisonous Jasmine? That's a huge difference. Compared with this legendary killer, even if she doesn't kill her with a single shot, her skills are unexpectedly strong. The person standing in front of the corpse was indeed a drug addict. He stood quietly in the jungle, looking into the distance with his keen eyesight. It was as if the sight could see the existence of some people in distant houses through a distance of more than 10 kilometers. Poison Jasmine is also dead, too strong. I originally thought that he had passed the golden age and had been infected with a serious virus, so his strength should have declined greatly. But I didn't expect that his strength not only did not decline, but even how diligent you are. Yes, you can win so easily against 5 top players from all walks of life in the country at the same time. The faces of the men and women who were listening to the distant sounds through their headsets looked a little ugly. These people are all representatives of some big figures or big forces. They have long known through channels that the country boy known as the Northeast Wild Tiger actually managed to win over many people in China through some unknown means. A top killer, addict, who is influenced by a nuclear bomb, so this time when the people and forces behind the scenes were sent to take charge of this matter, these people never thought it would be easy. Because even if the other party is a street gangster except for one drug addict, the drug addict alone is already an insurmountable mountain-like existence. China's top killer has made several legendary moves that shocked the country and abroad. This person is both good and evil. Sometimes he will kill someone for the request of an orphan, and sometimes he will take the lives of good citizens for money. He has no code of conduct. The only thing he has is that he is extremely responsible for the entrustment. It is precisely because of this responsibility that he experienced many dangers when he was just starting out, and his strength soared like a rocket. In the end, only then did he finally ascend to the throne of king that no one can shake. Damn it, how could the Siberian wild tiger find such a strong helping hand? It's obviously just a gangster from the countryside. A young man reluctantly smashed the water cup in his hand on the ground, making a crisp sound. Okay, Liao Su, according to our agreement, you can't take action next. It's time for our people to take action. A beautiful woman wearing glasses giggled, and she was so charming. the young man known as Liao Su lingered on the beautiful woman's excellent figure for a while before shaking his head and looking away. If I hadn't been unlucky in the lottery and I got the first lottery, who might have been the first to send a team to die? But if you tell the teams invited by these guys that the enemy is drug addicts, I think a large part of them will choose to quit. But if you don't tell them, these teams are not prepared, and the end result may not be worse than that of the Poison Jasmine 5-man team. How much better, should we say it or not say it? I'll just wait and see the show. Liao Su sat with his arms folded with some gloating. Anyway, there is nothing to do with him next. As for whether they were told, and by what means, whether it was through coercion or inducement, the restless Siberian tigers in these factories do not know. He was just hoping that the top assassin he invited, senior addict, could really live up to his reputation and overcome obstacles and eliminate all enemy teams one by one. Then according to the agreement, the big man behind him would come forward and let his factory has transformed into a real research institution. All stains have been erased. Of course, the actual controller will still be the Siberian wild tiger. Boss, don't we know best how powerful the addict is? You don't have to worry. In the office, the bespectacled man sat opposite the Siberian wild tiger. Seeing his boss's distraught look, he couldn't help but offer words of comfort. That's right. I don't need to worry about anything. The Siberian wild tiger looked at the outside of the factory. He knew that the cameras that had been installed urgently in the past few days covered a large area. As long as the enemy enters this surveillance area, it is very likely that they will be killed. Seen by oneself, and the drug addicts patrolling the periphery will rush over and wipe out all the enemies. In fact, the requirements of the agreement are very simple, that is, those teams only need to kill the leader of the factory director, Siberian wild tiger. Even if the task is completed, there are also restrictions on the northeast wild tiger. The number of characters who can come out to fight cannot exceed 5. Moreover, the factory director northeast wild tiger can only be trapped in the factory. If he goes out to escape, it will be considered a failure on his side. The factory above, which was originally very remote and peaceful hidden in the deep mountains and old forests, has now become a battlefield filled with war. Jia Yan, who was deep underground, had no awareness of these things. He just continued to search for the location of the so-called God object. It's so dangerous. In the army of giant cockroaches just now, there was actually one that was only one size smaller than me. And the army of cockroaches here is far more than what I saw a few days ago, at least 1,000. The giant cockroach uses a small cave as its nest and flies in and out of there. Jia Yan was flying in the air, he flies very fast. This is because he was chased by a swarm of giant scorpions before, and now he still has a little inertia. The group of giant cockroaches didn't know if they noticed the smell of the same kind of blood on his body. Find Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com. In short, he is chasing Jia Yan and refuses to give up. In the end, Jia Yan descended quickly and kept drilling through the huge blades of grass. Only then did he gradually get rid of the pursuit of the giant scorpion army. Although there is no alternation of day and night to judge the time, I estimate that I have been looking for it in this underground world for almost 2 days. If I can't find it anymore, I will have to give up. Jia Yan was flying in the air. In the past 2 days, he discovered that the mysterious juice accumulated in his body was gradually converted into nutrients for his body and was slowly decreasing. After 2 days, there was not much left. This discovery surprised Jia Yan. That is, in addition to making the body continue to strengthen, this mysterious juice is actually rich in nutrients. Jia Yan has been wondering in the past few days why he hasn't felt hungry since the last time he drank bat blood, but there was no feeling of hunger in his body, so he endured his doubts and observed for a few days. After at least 2 days of observation, he did not feel any weakness in his body. It seemed that this mysterious juice could really replace blood and become his staple food. To be continued. The seasons change and the weather changes suddenly. Everyone should pay attention to catching colds. Yesterday, Buyu felt a little groggy. He could hardly get up from bed at night, and this morning. When he touched his head just now, he actually had a fever. Everyone must also take care of themselves and take Buyu as a warning. Thank you to book friends such as there is a third brother in the family, Menjing Luo Luo, have you registered, Speechless Wanga Tsangtian, H Yang Yu and other book friends for their rewards. Thank you also to the book friends who voted for recommendation, thank you very much. Yu Reading welcomes all book lovers to come and read. The latest, fastest and most popular serial works are all available in Yu Reading. Yu reads books. Chapter 40 The Siege of the Worm Army. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Tips: to collect this book, just click Add to Bookshelf. Jia Yen made plans. If I really can't find that divine item, I'll add some more mysterious juice. Then wait and see if the juice will have some mutation effect again. After all, the remaining mysterious juice seems to have been almost digested. Even if you don't have it, just use it as supplementary food. Jia Yan's current plan is to stay in this underground world for a while. After discovering that the mysterious juice has no effect on the body, he will then go to the outside world to look for other opportunities to become stronger. Anyway, with my current body, the risk of being seen by humans in the surface world will be greatly increased. Why not use this place as a so-called training ground, to see if there is any possibility of continued growth? And if I guess the weather on the surface is correct, it will be almost autumn. Although I guess it won't affect me much, it is still not as comfortable as this warm underground world. Jia Yen thought this way and planned the next period of his life. However, plans cannot keep up with changes. Just when Jia Yen was planning, in his ears, he suddenly heard several waves of buzzing and noisy sounds. This voice is so familiar. It was clearly the army of cockroaches that he had managed to get rid of before. Jia Yen quickly looked back. Sure enough, behind him was a huge army of giant cockroaches. Jia Yen felt a huge shock in his heart, because there was not just one army of cockroaches, but at least 7 or 8. On average, an army consists of 100 moths, so 7 or 8 equals 7 to 800. It was as if all the giant cockroaches in their lair were out to capture him. Giant beetles formed a team. From a high altitude, they seemed to become a black torrent, rushing towards Jia Yan's direction. The alarm sounded in Jia Yan's heart. He quickly spread his wings crazily and flew directly towards a small cave nearby. The army of cockroaches behind him had no intention of letting him go at all. These beings who dominated the sky in this underground world showed that they would not give up until they completely killed their enemies. The sight of these demons flying all over the sky directly frightened countless creatures below. Even the giant creatures in the water were tumbling in panic. There are also many animals living in the bushes that are hiding directly in the bushes, as if they are encountering a natural disaster. In fact, Jia Yen has long seen that these cockroaches have a vague feeling of dominating this underground world, and now it seems that this is indeed the case. Who would have thought that the underground world full of huge creatures would be dominated by this group of flying creatures that were not eye-catching at first sight? Of course, it is not surprising if you think about it carefully. It now seems that the giant cockroaches are the only flying creatures in the world, and their number is extremely large. Relying on the advantages of flight and quantity, it can be said that they have no opponents. Perhaps it is precisely because Jia Yen is also a flying creature that these dominating midges think this is damaging to their authority and will fight to the death every time they see him. Jia Yen escaped from death and had no time to think about anything else. His proud clot defense is indeed very powerful. Jia Yen even wonders if he can now defend against bullets from small human firearms. He was also confident of defending against the small ones against the army of dragonflies behind him, but what really frightened Jia Yen was the presence behind the ordinary giant dragonflies. There were about 30 of the even larger ones. Each of their bodies is more than 20 centimeters tall, their tail needles are sharper and thicker, and their bodies are more ferocious. In particular, there are 5 of them, whose bodies are so black that they appear purple in color, and their bodies are exaggeratedly huge to over 40 centimeters. No matter how you look at it, these 5 are not simple things. As soon as they appeared, the creatures that had been crawling slowly when they saw ordinary worms suddenly acted like they had seen natural enemies, rolling and crawling into the grass to hide. These purple supergiant moths are definitely not someone to be trifled with. When Jia Yan was seen by their compound eyes, he also had the illusion that he was being seen by a natural enemy, and he immediately ran even harder. Buzz buzz, the lightning-like figure was flying in the narrow cave. The cave he entered was a small cave with an entrance of only about 1 meter. Jia Yan wanted to prevent the army of cockroaches from squeezing into the cave entrance in one go, but the more the cave flew, the more it changed. In less than 2 minutes of flying, the cave had widened to a width of 5 or 6 meters. Buzz! The frantic pursuit of the cockroaches behind him suddenly became easier for them to run parallel to each other, and they were chasing each other in the air behind them. Jia Yan maintained the highest speed he could fly in front, but for him, the narrow terrain of this cave was more difficult because he had no experience or training in high-speed flying in such an ultra-low altitude and narrow environment. So in terms of overall speed, even though he had already taken the lead, he was still being gradually shortened by the giant cockroaches behind him. Moreover, those supergiant insects flew to the forefront of all the insects. Fortunately, those 5 purple guys were still flying in the center of the army of insects. It seemed that the current situation was not worthy of their action. But Jia Yan is in trouble just for those supergiant beetles, because the tail needles of these guys also give him a very dangerous feeling. What's going on? There's also the sound of flying flies coming from the front. Just when Jia Yan was worried, he vaguely heard the shrill flapping of wings coming from the front of the cave through his antennae and hearing organs. The body turned a corner at high speed. But in Jia Yan's compound eyes, he saw a large wave of giant beetles ahead, outflanking him. Is this cave just a circle in the underground world, with the exit and entrance leading to the underground world? Alas, I really picked a good place. Jia Yan lamented his bad luck in his heart. The group of dragonflies in front obviously came from another cave to outflank them. Jia Yan didn't know how high the IQ of these giant dragonflies was, but if this was really the strategy they came up with, then the intelligence of these giant dragonflies was far higher. Much higher than he expected. Most of the group in front are ordinary worms. I only need to pay attention to 2 of them that are supergiant. Don't be afraid of the others. Just rush over. Compared with the wave of cockroaches in front of him, Jia Yan was more afraid of the tide-like army of cockroaches behind him, so he could only charge forward at this time. If you break through the smaller group of cockroaches in front of you, you have a glimmer of hope. Jia Yan flapped his wings. Be prepared to take a hit. Take courage. Rush. Buzz. The ultra-high-frequency vibrating wings made Jia Yan's speed soar to the limit. The sky in front of him was filled with giant insects, so he didn't have to worry about hitting any cave walls. Hit it directly. Compared with Jia Yan's accelerated speed, the supergiant scorpions chasing behind him suddenly slowed down at this time. They did not want to have close contact with the same kind of people who were outflanking them. But Jia Yan didn't make any pause at all, directly increased his speed and crashed into the outflanking team in front. Almost in the blink of an eye, Jia Yan's body collided with the body of an ordinary dragonfly. Bang! Jia Yan could hear the sound of the collision. The opponent was only about 10 centimeters in size. Facing a giant mosquito with a body of 25 centimeters like myself, he would only end up being knocked away. But his speed has had a slight impact. Crash again. Jia Yan continued to increase the speed of flapping his wings, and without any reaction time, he bumped into the next giant beetle. He still won the collision this time, but the angle of impact was different from that of the opponent. After being knocked away, the body of ordinary trichoderma also hit Jia Yan's right wing flapping at super speed, which directly caused his figure in the air to lose for a moment. The balance. Bang bang bang. Jia Yan felt that his wings should not be injured, but his speed plummeted. No, no, no. If you stop, you will die. Keep hitting. Wings, flap them. Jia Yan's huge body revived in the air and increased his speed again. If you take one step slower, the army of cockroaches will form an encirclement, and then your chances of survival will really be hopeless. You guys must be used to being kings in this underground world, so you don't see another existence that can challenge you in the air. Wait for me. If you let me escape this time, I will return to the ground first. But next time I will definitely come back fully prepared and kill you until you are scared. Jia Yan was also furious after being chased by the army of cockroaches several times. His speed had just increased a little, but with a huge dark body, looking for Shuyuan. www.zhaoshuyuan.com is already not far in front of him. Super giant type. Just right, I still hate those ordinary worms that are not enough for me to bully. Jia Yan's compound eyes are faint. Looking at the body shape alone, his body is not much different from the others, which is more than 20 centimeters. However, Jia Yan's body was covered with layers of clot armor, making him much bulkier than his opponent. Obviously, in terms of weight and strength, Jia Yan believed that he had an absolute advantage. But Jia Yan won't be careless, because these giant beetles are an ethnic group that evolved to survive and reproduce in this underground world. The creatures in this underground world are many times stronger than their counterparts in the outside world, not only in terms of size. Even if the outside world's cockroaches are so huge, they probably can't be compared to the underground world's cockroaches. The supergiant cockroach blocking Jia Yan's body also had a pair of compound eyes flashing faintly. The green luminous algae in the cave are shining on their figures. Some ordinary-bodied insects are swarming towards Jia Yan's body, flying in the air. Even if these are just ordinary giant beetles, if they get entangled with them, Jia Yan will definitely be in danger. Without further ado, get out of my way! Jia Yan roared in his heart as he crashed into the giant worm blocking the road in front of him. To be continued, thanks to book friend, Arrakis, for the 588 tip. Thanks to Quiet, SS3RV, Depressed Fool, Toda King Li Jing, have you registered yet, Menjing Luo, and other book friends for their rewards. I also want to thank all the book friends who voted for recommendation. Thank you very much. La. UU Reading welcomes all book lovers to come and read. The latest, fastest, and most popular serial works are all available in UU Reading. UU reads books. Chapter 41: A New Way of Flying. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Please add it to your collection. The vibration frequency of Jia Yan's wings reached the highest level again. His body seemed to turn into a hurricane. Crazy collision with the supergiant worm in front of you. The opponent's body sank slightly, and it seemed that he was really equipped to resist impact. Bang. The two collided almost instantly. It's like Mars hitting the Earth, the reaction force in the blink of an eye is extraordinary. Jia Yan's compound eyes that reflected the faint light shone brightly. His body was actually blocked for a moment by this supergiant cockroach. Although he clearly had the upper hand in terms of strength, he was pushing the body of the dragonfly to fly, but the opponent's 6 legs directly pressed on Jia Yan's body, using his body to block the inertia of Jia Yan's forward motion. The giant worms are indeed very powerful, and I was actually slowed down for a moment. If we don't want to delay it any longer, we have no choice but to kill him. That the fierce signal in Jia Yan's heart was released, and the pair of front legs, which were much slender than the average dragonfly, stepped directly on the body of the supergiant dragonfly. Get apart, use your front foot hard. The supergiant worm felt its body being pushed away by an irresistible force. Its abdomen instantly arched, trying to attack with its tail needle. How could I let you stab me? That when Jia Yan saw the supergiant beetle responding with an attack, he immediately twisted his body. Aha! The supergiant beetle strikes with a sting. Jia Yan hurriedly dodged, and the tail needle attack fell directly into the air. At this time, Jia Yan had already used his front foot to push the opponent farther away. The beetle's feet could no longer grasp any part of Jia Yan's body, but it was still wrapped around Jia Yan's extended front legs, which were too slender. Although the length of the cockroach was not much different from Jia Yan's, compared to Jia Yan's, the legs were 1.5 times as long as his body. Its feet are completely inferior. So if you can't reach Jia Yan's body, just grab Jia Yan's feet, and the effect will be the same. But just when the ordinary beetles were chasing after him and were about to swarm Jia Yan's long mouthparts poked out. With his pair of front legs, he suddenly pulled the supergiant beetle towards his direction. Then following the inertia, the mouthpart directly penetrates the opponent's head. The mouth needle is like a bullet shot out. After the body reaches 25 centimeters, the length of the mouth needle becomes thicker. At this time, it is already 5 centimeters in length. With this length, his mouth needle can be said to be the largest in size, including humans. A nightmare for most living things. Shoot it into the cockroach's brain. Poof! A 5-centimeter long needle can penetrate the heads of most enemies. Although this supergiant beetle is about the same size as Jia Yan, its head is less than 5 centimeters long. Without any surprise, it was suddenly ejected from its mouth. Needle, shot directly through the head. The body of the supergiant cockroach suddenly lost any breath of life. The juice in this cockroach's body is a little different. In the process of withdrawing the needle, Jia Yan felt that his needle suddenly touched something different. This is a taste and feeling that neither ordinary centipedes nor fiery red centipedes have experienced before. Jia Yan's heart moved, and he felt that this supergiant beetle was obviously very special in terms of the mysterious juice in its brain. However, the current situation is urgent and there is no time to do research at all. He didn't even have time to suck the mysterious juice from the brain of this supergiant frog. Jia Yan only tried his best to absorb a little bit of the mysterious juice when he let go of the corpse, and then got rid of several ordinary crickets coming from behind. After killing the supergiant scorpion, there are not many scorpions left from the outflanking front. Jia Yan flaps his wings hard. After knocking away an ordinary beetle again, his body swayed slightly, the front of my eyes suddenly turned into a broad road. This swarm of midges that surrounded him was actually knocked out of his way. Bang bang bang. A series of collision sounds sounded behind him. Those cockroaches were smart but were misled by their cleverness. After the outflanking group was broken through by Jia Yan, they collided with the main army chasing Jia Yan. As a result, the entire cockroach army was immediately in chaos. Buzz! Jia Yan increased the speed of flapping his wings to the limit. He felt that he had never been so fast before. This is also the second time after being reborn as a mosquito that I enjoy the feeling of flying at high speed. The first time was naturally when he tried to fly for the first time. He remembered that he was only a few millimeters in size at that time, so weak that a gust of wind could kill him. From then on, Jia Yan took flying as a matter of course for human walking, but he never discovered the beauty of flying again. Now this ultra-high speed that has never been reached has brought back the feeling of flying in my heart again. Being able to fly is a blessing given to me by God. He was a little emotional. But after my rebirth, I have never seriously studied my flying posture. Just like an ordinary mosquito, I regard this kind of thing as instinct and have always relied on instinct to fly. This is wrong. It's really wrong. How can you ignore the importance of theory? Besides, I have mutated several times, and my wings have changed their postures. It's simply thankless to fly like a mosquito before. Jia Yan discovered why he couldn't fly with the army of cockroaches behind him. This was because he hadn't mastered the correct flying posture after his body grew bigger. Flapping your wings too hard doesn't necessarily mean it's good. I want to learn to glide and use the air to fly. Thinking of the structures of some airplanes and birds, Jia Yan stopped a little and then stretched his wings flat. The mutated wings are more aerodynamic, but Jia Yan's control method is wrong. This caused his body to almost stop in the air and almost fall to the ground. No, I can't take advantage of the updraft of the air. I should tilt the wings a little. Jia Yan tried hard to control the muscles of his wings. He almost never twisted his wings into this shape, which directly caused severe pain in his muscles. But the effect of this twist came out immediately. Jia Yan found that he had only slightly distorted the tilt of his wings, and there was an upward airflow in front of him, lifting his body directly up. The body that was about to hit the ground was immediately lifted up. Jia Yan spread his wings, and the rising airflow combined with the inertia of the previous high-speed flight allowed him to maintain gliding flight for more than 3 seconds. When the speed slowed down, Jia Yan flapped his wings twice. Although he was still unskilled and his body was swaying when he flapped his wings, his flying speed did not slow down much. Even less effort and faster. The noise is also reduced tremendously. Ha! That's great. I found that with this way of flying, I have enough physical strength to continue flying for a day or two. But the muscles that control the wings feel a little strained and painful, but it doesn't matter. As long as you train more, you will be able to adapt. Jia Yan was so happy when he discovered the new flight mode. No longer needing to flapping his body crazily, he felt that the trembling of his body was reduced a lot when he was flying. After all, when he was flying before, the flapping frequency of his wings was hundreds of times per second, which made his body feel like he was pretending to be in the air. A vibration motor, like the vibration mode of a mobile phone, keeps vibrating. After switching to this flight mode, not only is the effort saved hundreds of times, the crazy trembling also disappears. The noise plus the trembling flight feeling suddenly switches to a smooth and quiet mode. This allows him to really enjoy flying. A huge mosquito flew across the air quickly, and the strong wind caused by its wings blew the luminous algae in the caves around. Quick! Quick! Jia Yan, who discovered the new flight mode, immediately enjoyed it. He felt that his current speed was not the limit at all. As long as he got trained and got used to it, there was still a huge room for improvement waiting for him with this flying method. Jia Yan got rid of the army of cockroaches in the rear. Now that he knows that this road still leads to the underground world, Jia Yan can follow it and return to the underground world, then reach the cave from which he came out, and return to the surface through the crack passage. This king creature of the underground world is too hostile to him, so this place has temporarily become very dangerous. Even though Jia Yan improved his speed and flying method, the situation still did not change under the siege of those armies. Especially the 5 purple crocodiles, which were far larger than Jia Yan, with a huge body of more than 40 centimeters and nearly half a meter, Jia Yan knew immediately that they were extremely dangerous existences. I really can't stay here anymore. He had no choice but to give up his original idea and return to the surface world first. As for humans, as long as he is careful and avoids the wind in the forest, it will be safer than being constantly pursued by an army of scorpions in this underground world. Sure enough, a bright light appeared in front of the bookstore www.zhaoshuyuan.com, and a circular cave exit appeared in Jia Yan's sight. Jia Yan was excited and was about to fly forward. However, he was staring at the exit in front with his compound eyes, and suddenly through the large-scale observation line of sight of his compound eyes, he discovered that there was a deep, small space just to the right of his body. In this small space, there seems to be some different colors appearing. Jia Yan's body is still maintaining its top speed. But the moment he was about to fly through this deep and small space, he reluctantly turned his attention here. What's this? The next moment, Jia Yan felt a huge shock in his heart. His flying figure almost became unstable and hit the cave wall. However, the scenery of the deep space only flashed across his sight in an instant. Then he was directly forgotten by Jia Yan, who was flying quickly. In front of him was the bright exit of the underground world. It could be said that in less than a second, Jia Yan flew out unimpeded and returned to the relatively vast space of the underground world. The cave leading to the factory was just a few hundred meters away, and there was no sign of an army of cockroaches nearby. What on earth were those, just now? How could such a thing exist? At this time, he can enter the cave by flying quickly. But at this moment, Jia Yan was a little distracted, muttering to himself in his heart, to be continued. Thanks to book friends, have you registered, 878 kh, and Reclining Buddha's Little House, for their tips. Also thank you all for your recommendation votes. Thanks. UU Reading welcomes all book lovers to come and read. The latest, fastest, and most popular serial works are all available in UU Reading. UU Reads Books. Chapter 42 Goodbye, Underground World. End of this volume. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Please collect it. A weird machine, and 3 monsters at least 2 meters high. But these things are not moving, as if they are dead. Am I wrong, that when Jia Yan took a first glance, he saw a huge square machine? This machine had a silver-white appearance and was about 3 meters high and wide. Its roots are more than a dozen pipes rooted underground. As for the more specific details, Jia Yan didn't see clearly. Within a few tenths of a second of flying by, he also saw what seemed to be 3 extremely ferocious monsters lying next to the machine. The 3 monsters were all lying next to the machine. They all stood in the same posture, lined up in a row, motionless. Because Jia Yan flew over there too fast, he only roughly knew that these 3 monsters had 6 legs. Then I didn't see any details clearly, they just passed by in a flash. Buzz buzz, the huge army formed by countless giant cockroaches is like a ferocious fighter jet rushing towards the enemy. They shot out from the corners one by one, and some of them didn't even have time to turn and hit the cave wall directly. The noise made by these huge flying creatures made Jia Yan, who was a little stunned, come back to his senses from the shock. No matter what they are, let's avoid the immediate crisis first. Seeing that these cockroaches were still unwilling to let go, Jia Yan could only spread his wings and increase his speed to the fastest again. The surrounding scenery is rapidly retreating. The giant cockroaches that followed behind were slowly thrown into the distance one by one. Coming to the open space of the underground world, Jia Yan didn't have to worry about the small environment like he did in the cave. With the flying method he had conceived before, his flying speed had improved to another level. In no time, he got into the cave leading to the gap passage. As long as we go deeper, we can reach the gap. I can drill through there and come out of the Siberian wild tiger's factory workshop in no time. Jia Yan originally didn't want to go to the surface so early, but the overlord of the underground world seemed to dislike him as an uninvited guest. He had no choice but to leave. Arrive. Jia Yan saw from a distance that there was a gap at the top of the cave area, where he fell. Jia Yan was about to fly away to this place. But there was a strong sound of flapping wings from behind, which attracted his attention vigilantly. With a quick glance at the compound eyes, Jia Yan discovered that among the huge army of dragonflies, a purple figure quickly broke away from the team and accelerated towards Jia Yan at a speed more than twice as fast as the other dragonflies. Purple cockroach. Jia Yan was shocked. Being chased by this purple bug is no fun. Jia Yan is almost certain that these purple guys, who are nearly half a meter tall, have very strong combat power. If he is intercepted by the opponent, he will probably die. Not to mention, there was an army of nearly 1,000 worms behind him. Run away. Jia Yan only glanced at it, then quickly flapped his wings and flew quickly towards the crack above his head. The giant purple worm, like a real warrior, seemed to have the aura of an elite from hundreds of battles. When he saw Jia Yan drilling into the gap above the cave, he pursued him along the passage without any delay. Whoops! With the strong wind howling around him, Jia Yan struggled to distinguish the road through the occasional luminous algae that appeared around him. However, the giant purple beetle behind him seemed to have no hindrance at all. The pursuit speed increased instead of decreasing, approaching Jia Yan little by little. Bang! With his sight blocked, Jia Yan finally bumped into a raised stone in the passage. What annoyed him was that this stone was the place where the corpse of the dead cockroach had been placed a few days ago. I have been wandering here for a while, why am I in a panic now and have stumbled upon such a profoundly impressive place? At the moment of collision, the purple beetle had already chased behind Jia Yan. It stretched out its front legs and pulled it towards Jia Yan's body in the air, but this giant purple mosquito didn't expect that Jia Yan had feet that were slenderer than his body, and the strength of these feet was amazing. When it stretched out its front legs, Jia Yan aimed a pair of hind legs directly at the forehead of the giant purple mosquito and kicked it hard. This giant purple beetle didn't expect Jia Yan's hind feet to be so long. Before his front feet could hook the opponent's body, he was already kicked in the head. It was suddenly kicked backwards in the air. Jia Yan used the reaction force in the air to increase his flying speed again. Jump over this raised rock and fly upwards at high speed. And the purple cockroach, after chasing for a while, seemed to be blocked by an invisible line. Its compound eyes were as cold as ice as it looked at Jia Yan's retreating figure. "Why don't you catch up?" Jia Yan looked at the purple beetle below strangely, and doubts flashed in his mind, but he soon felt the reason. Oxygen. My body seems to be lacking oxygen. I can't use my strength anymore. Jia Yan's figure in the passage quickly slowed down a little and rested on the surface of a stone. He finally knew why the purple mosquito didn't chase him. Even a mutated mosquito like him, which had only lived in the underground world of high oxygen air for a few days, would feel a little hypoxic now that he was close to the ground and felt the low oxygen air. The purple beetle is even bigger, and it has long been accustomed to the high concentration of oxygen in the underground world during its evolution. It is normal that it does not dare to pursue it too close to the ground. But he is different. Although he mutated once and swallowed mysterious juice twice in the underground world, his body is still a template for outside creatures in general. At least under hypoxia adaptation, he will be better able to adapt to the outside environment than underground creatures. It doesn't matter, I can adapt. My respiratory organs have also changed due to the mutation. It's just that I didn't need to use this change at all when I was in the underground world. Generally, mosquitoes only rely on the breathing holes on both sides of the abdomen for involuntary breathing, but after Jia Yan's mutation, there were some basic changes in the respiratory organs, that is, a little muscle on the side of the breathing hole, slowly extend out to form a muscle combination with a closing mechanism. Although this was just a very simple basic change, Jia Yan found that after closing this group of muscles, he could use the muscle combination in the breathing hole to inhale towards the outside world, and after breathing in the air, the oxygen conversion rate of the body's functions is also far higher than before. This is why he can still reach the ground near the ground without turning on the autonomous breathing mechanism. After feeling that his autonomous breathing mechanism, which had not been activated once after the mutation, was working normally, Jia Yan tried to use the closing muscles on the side of the breathing hole. Sure enough, I can breathe air, but I didn't have a spontaneous breathing organ before. Now I have to get used to the feeling of constantly breathing like a human. It's very troublesome and uncomfortable. However, I used to be a human, so it should be easy to get used to this feeling. Just hold on for a few days and you'll be fine. After Jia Yan turns on his autonomous breathing mechanism, the air is sucked into the body's combined organs faster, and then through the mutated combined organs, the oxygen needed by each organ is quickly distributed to the body. This problem of insufficient oxygen can be roughly solved. Of course, with such a huge body, it is basically impossible for Jia Yan to use such a simple, breathing organ, to completely solve the problem of insufficient oxygen supply. He can only try to reduce oxygen consumption as much as possible or rest more. As for whether the body can mutate further in the future and have a stronger breathing mechanism, even one step further than human beings, transcending the level of breathing, then God knows. At least Jia Yan still has hope. His path to mutation now seems to be promising. Well, I have been in the underground world for so long, and now I am kicked out by the master. I just want to go out and see if there are any changes outside. I just hope that if I am kicked out from inside, the master outside will not welcome me. Then there will really be no place for me in this world. The outside owner Jia Yan was talking about was naturally a human being. Although he said this in his heart, he knew very well that if his huge body that had mutated to such an exaggerated degree was exposed to the outside world, it would definitely be a very sensational event. Find the book Garden www.zhaoshuyuan.com. So he has to be careful. Jia Yan, who was once a human, knew very well that provoking humans is far more terrifying than provoking the purple cockroaches in the underground world. When I go out this time, I estimate that there are very few creatures that can threaten me in nature. My only possible potential enemies will only be humans, because the owner of the underground world was not welcoming, Jia Yan could only choose to forget about it temporarily, waiting to go out and plan before you can return and face the huge army of cockroaches. There was also the weird machinery, and the terrifying creatures that seemed to have no signs of life next to the machinery. There are still many puzzles in the underground world, which can only be explored after Jia Yan becomes stronger. It's not a problem to lie down in the passage all the time. After Jia Yan was mentally prepared, he moved. It flapped its wings and soared toward the top of the passage. The pipe leading to the factory boiler is not far away. To be continued. Sorry, I'm feeling a little unwell today. This chapter happens to be the end of Volume 2. Just treat this volume as the end and I'll take a little rest, so there's only one update today. This is the first time there is no double update of this book. Oh, I'm so sorry. Starting tomorrow is a new chapter. The giant mosquito is beginning to show its prowess, a new volume and a new story. I hope you will like it. Thanks to book friend Anjing for the 588 tip. Thanks to the brothers of the tiger who eats pigs, Yao Jinyuan, SS3RV, have you registered, Toda King Li Jing, Hepatitis B Jiuyang, the third brother in the family, Menjing Luo Luo and other book friends for their rewards. You are Buyue's motivation for updating, thank you. Yu Reading welcomes all book lovers to come and read. The latest, fastest and most popular serial works are all available in Yu Reading. Yu reads books.